Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for June 12th to June 18th of 2016. And on June 12th, we have the sun denoted here by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Gemini. It's also in the 45th hexagram. And on the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 45th hexagram, numbered from bottom to top. The 45 goes yin, yin, yin. Yang, yang, yin. And then the 45th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. Right here, this is the 45th gate of the gatherer, gathering together the natural and genetically beneficial attraction of like forces, located in the throat center in a tribal energy path in the ego circuit called the channel of the money line, a design of a materialist that connects with the 21st gate of the hunter, the huntress, biting through the justified and necessary use of power and overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on the 12th. The sun is in the 45th gate with the earth in the 26th gate. The north node is in the 64th gate with the south node in the 63rd gate. Mercury is in the 8th gate. Venus is in the 12th gate. Mars is retrograde in the 14th gate. We have Jupiter in the 64th gate along with the north node. Saturn is retrograde in the 5th gate. Uranus is in the 42nd gate. And Neptune is in a standstill or stationed as it's turning retrograde on the 13th, meaning that it's making very little movement during this report period, and it is in the 63rd gate along with the south node, and Pluto is retrograde in the 54th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And as we begin the week, we have no channel definitions due to the transit field. June 12th, the sun begins with the sun in the 5th line of the 45th hexagram. The sun in the 45-5 is described as leadership. All gathering together must have a center and a focus. Exalted, the intuitive intellect and gift for innovation that enhances continuity through respect on the center. The gift of expressing leadership on the material plane. Detriment, a sense of right action that assumes a respect that may not as yet have been earned. The drive for leadership that may not have yet earned the right. Later on the 12th, the sun then moves into the 6th line of the 45th hexagram at 1:35 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 5:35 UT. The sun in the 45-6 is described as reconsideration, an outsider that can admit that its prior rejection was an error will generally be accepted into the gathering. Exalted, the innate empathy with the outsider mentally and its eccentric and often misunderstood logic. A material direction which serves the outsider. A detrimented, demanding that the outsider conforms. The material direction that is focused on conditioning the outsider to conform. Also on the 12th, Mercury moves from the 8th gate in hexagram, and it moves into the 20th gate in hexagram. So Mercury in mythology was the messenger of the gods. So this is about communication, or as Ra put it, the expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music. And Mercury is in the gate of the now, contemplation, recognition, and awareness in the now transforms understanding into right action. And Mercury is in the 1st line of the 20th hexagram and gate, which is superficiality, a reliance on shallowness. Exalted, the rising of superficiality to an art form, the sloganeer. Superficial expression as an art form. Detrimented, the superficial expression of the personality, the expression of the superficial personality. In the program, Mercury is about expression through communication. It influences the homogenized population to communicate about things about the themes of the gate and line that transiting Mercury inhabits. Its primary impact is psychological. It impacts the not-self mind. It distorts the way that we look at things in a way that leads to action. This conditions people to think and communicate about the same things, which those people think as being normal. And then on the 13th, the Sun moves from the 45th hexagram gate and joins Venus in the 12th hexagram gate, and the Earth moves from the 26th to the 11th. So we have the Earth is in the 11th gate of ideas, peace, a harmonic condition in which the individual or society permits assessment before renewed action. This shift happens at 1:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 5:07 UT, with the Sun in the 12th gate of caution, standstill, the quality of restraint, and the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. And the Sun is exalted in the first line of the 12th hexagram due to Venus also being in the 12th. And this is described as the monk withdrawal that can only be maintained with communal support, exalted the beauty and harmony possible beyond the reach of temptation, the expression of the social withdrawal and its value when supported by others. And as we move from the 45 to the 12, we enter the gate of social caution. It's the emotional manifesting gate of the knowing circuit. It's a throat gate that says, I know I can try or not. It expresses the social being from the 22nd gate of grace. The only social, it's really the only social channel in the individual circuitry. The 12 is seductive and deeply connected to music and poetry. As with all individual gates, it's acoustic, empowering, mutative, and melancholic. The polarity of the 12 is the 11th gate of peace. And this brings us to the second variation of the cross of Eden. The 12 is the voice of the serpent, seducing you to know yourself, to go outside, to go out and be in the world. It's about articulation and the opening of the mind. The capacity to articulate came from the dropping of the larynx, the mutation which is associated with the 11-12 polarity. And this shift, this is a shift from making sounds to speaking in a language and using words. With the 12th gate, we have art and singing and music. On the 14th, the Sun moves into the second line of the 12th gate at 12:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 4:41 UT. The Sun in the 12-2 is described as purification, a rigorous withdrawal from negative influences, exalted the discipline to maintain a pure state, the expression of disciplined social caution, detriment the boredom that arises out of a lack of stimulation, caution that manifests boredom and the expressed desire for stimulus. On the 15th, the Sun then moves into the third line of the 12th hexagram at 12:14 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 4:14 UT. The Sun in the 12-3 is described as confession, the process of self-analysis, exalted the recognition of inadequacies and the purging of unjustified vanities, the expression of inadequacies in social interaction that leads to self-analysis and caution, detrimented a perverse and often exaggerated self-hatred, inadequacies in social interaction that lead to the expression of self-hatred. Later on the 15th, the Sun then moves into the fourth line of the 12th hexagram at 11:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 3:48 UT on the 16th. And the 12-4 is the prophet, the ability to foresee and plan for the end of standstill. Exalted, the rousing of the stagnant for communal preparation, the ability to foresee and express the need for social interaction and end to caution. Detrimented, the voice in the wilderness, the expressed need for social interaction that falls on deaf ears. Also on the 15th, retrograde Mercury backs out of the 14th gate and into the 43rd gate. And Mars is in the gate of insight, breakthrough. In order for achievement to maintain a new order must be fairly established. And retrograde Mars backs into the 6th line of the 45th gate in the hexagram, where it's detrimented in the line of breakthrough. Detrimented, an ego tendency in breakthrough sees justification of its lesser attributes and carries them over into the new order, where the value of knowing is more important than other aspects of life. And Ra spoke of Mars being an extraordinary, immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars in the program is about expression through mutation. This plays out in the mundane plane as change. And these are changes that take hold in the homogenized world as fads or trends. And this is an illusion because the population is ready for the same changes at the same time because of transiting Mars. On the 16th, the sun then moves into the 5th line of the 12th hexagram at 11:23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 3:23 UT. On the 17th, the sun is exalted in the 12-5 and described as the pragmatist. The success of restraint lies not in abandoning the lessons learned when the phase ends. Exalted, light is always conscious of darkness, caution as an expression of social experience. And then also on the 16th, Mercury moves from the 20th gate in hexagram to the 16th. And Venus moves from the 12, leaving behind the sun, and it moves into the 15. Which then brings us a defined sacral center and a defined G center and the channel of rhythm. All right, so we have Mercury in the 16th gate of skills, enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. And Mercury is detrimented in the 1st line of the 16, which is delusion, false enthusiasm. Detrimented, the public communication of inevitably unrealized claims, the tendency to express fantasy as fact. And then we've got Venus moving from the 12, leaving behind the sun, into the 15. So it's in the gate of extremes. And Venus is about values, morality, natural law, in which we deal with others and the consequences of the world around us. And Venus is in the 15th gate of extremes, modesty, the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. Venus is exalted in the 1st line of the 15th hexagram, and it's described as duty, the ability to confront any challenge without expectations. Exalted, harmonic relationships with give support to the fulfillment of any task, the capacity of the self to confront any challenges through extreme and harmonic relationships. And in the program, Venus is about control, through maintaining the status quo in a way in which we operate with each other. We experience the transiting planets through the Maya, and we should not avoid the Maya, but embrace it. But embrace it as yourself through following your strategy and authority. And with Saturn in the 5th hexagram and gate and Venus in the 15th, we have the channel of rhythm, a design of being in the flow until June 24th. During this time period, people may feel like they are in their own natural rhythm. So if your world seems chaotic, you might want to examine whether you're following your strategy and authority, because this energy influences us to effortlessly be in the flow. People may align with deeper patterns in life. This definition may also influence folks' sense of rhythm and tempo through their attunement to their environment, moving from fixed to changing rhythms and back again. The defined G center can influence folks to obsess about where they're headed or where they might find love. And the defined sacral center can influence non-generator types in feeling busy and having the endurance to work. Obviously, don't get used to it. Also, they may think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to the premature and abrupt ending to something that really needs more time. On the 17th, the sun then moves into the 6th line of the 12th hexagram at 10:57 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 2:57 UT on the 18th. The sun is exalted in the 12/6 as metamorphosis, faith in and energy applied towards change, and the emergence from standstill, exalted creative transcendence leads to successful mutation and the emergence of a new form, the capacity to mutate and express new social forms. On the 18th, the sun then moves out of the 12th gate and hexagram, joining Venus in the 15, and the Earth moves from the 11, and it moves into the 10. So we have the Earth is in the gate of the behavior of the self, treading the underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. This shift happens at 10:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 2:32 UT on the 19th, with the sun in the 15th gate of extremes, modesty, the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. And the sun is exalted in the first line of the 15th hexagram due to Venus also being in the 15th, and is described as duty, the ability to confront any challenge without expectation. It's exalted harmonic relationships with give support for the fulfillment of any task, the capacity of the self to confront any challenges through extreme and harmonic relationships. And as we move from the 12 to the 15, we enter the gate of modesty. This is a G-center gate, is about love and bringing us to the halfway point of the quarter of civilization. This is about finding a balance between extremes. This collective logic gate that is about sharing patterns with others. It's about love of humanity, or it can be a hatred of humanity. It's extremes of humanity, from compassion to intolerance, from embracing diversity to genocide of those who are different, from empowerment to oppression. It connects to the sacral 5th gate of witnessing patterns in the flow. Is polarity. The 10th is the 10th gate of behavior. This brings us to the second variation of the cross of the vessel of love and the acceptance of the broad spectrum of rhythms that make up the larger flow. This is about projecting the pattern into the future so that more love can be shared. So I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for June 19th, 2016 should be available on the 18th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, as there's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as text or videos as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine, in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available, and you can email me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you'd like to know how to make a donation. And we are definitely at a point where donations and people getting readings is greatly needed. Looking at having to figure out how we're going to keep this going. So if you're inclined, please contact me and help support us here at New World Birth. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries, their synthesis and application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best to you, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.